One night in 2017, the people of Startown experience a strange phenomenon. As people are heading back from work, it starts pouring heavily, but something is off. Unlike average rain, this rain's water was raidy. This freaks people out, and they rush to take shelter. In the midst of all this, a mysterious guy with a guitar is standing outside his shop, regretting that he should have checked the weather forecast before heading out. Despite this, he's enjoying the view as he could witness women running with their transparent clothes. Following this, he decides to get back to work, but as he settles down, he notices that his cat is taking a nap. Seeing this, he grabs it by its tail and orders it to stop slacking off and be more professional. This makes the cat furious, and it pulls out its claws to attack the man but has to back off as the man apprises that there won't be any food if they don't work. When the cat realizes this, her expression changes totally and she displays a sign that reads Professional Xinghe. Meanwhile, a strange girl drops some coins on the cat's head. The man looks up at her and questions which song would she like him to play when suddenly, a flash of lightning blinds him, and when he opens his eyes, he notices that the girl is gone. The girl, on the other hand, is about to enter a building with multiple dead bodies lying beside its doorway. The girl looks at her strange watch and activates the detection system. She then enters the building and proceeds straight to the computer control room, ignoring all the dead bodies around her. Inside the room, she notices that a computer is still running with a guy's database running on it. As she is observing the database, a zombie-like creature ambushes her from behind. The girl turns sharply and grabs the zombie from its arm, smacking it into the ground. With this, a mysterious red gas appears from the zombie's mouth alongside some laser beam targeting the girl. Without wasting any time, the girl activates God Invasion, and suddenly, a barrier appears in front of her, protecting her from the beams. The girl then proceeds to obliterate the entire facility. The next morning, as Xinghe is about to head to school, he asks his aunt and uncle for some money regarding the school trip. His aunt, however, lashes out at him, stating that she just paid her tuition fee and now he wants more money. His uncle tries to calm her down, explaining that the school trip is a once-in-a-year event and that he should be allowed to attend it. He then reassures Gu that he will somehow arrange the money. Disappointed, Gu leaves the house, shouting that he doesn't want to go. His aunt warns him that she gave him the credit card to pay the bills and that he should refrain from trying anything funny. As he is leaving, he overhears her insulting him and that she would have kicked him out if it wasn't for his grandmother. Following this, as he is sitting all alone outside the apartment solving a Rubik's Cube, he thinks about his grandmother, reminiscing about that time when some kids at school were bullying him. They were calling him a feral, and when Gu tried to argue back, one of them shoved him away, stating that he is just a feral child that nobody wants. In the meantime, his grandmother appears at the spot and all of them ran away, leaving him behind. Upon inquiring about his injuries, Gu starts crying and tells her that people make fun of him, saying that he was picked off the streets and that he is a feral child that nobody wants. Grandma, however, reassures him that he is her previous grandchild and has 4 uncles that will take care of him. Then she hands him a Rubik's Cube and offers to give him a piggyback ride back home. With this, Gu cheers up and asks her grandma to sing a song for him, to which she agrees. As they are heading back home, Gu falls asleep on her grandma's shoulder. However, after some time, his grandmother dies and all of his uncles started fighting about who will take care of Gu. They were shocked to know that Gu's grandmother had left a testament behind, stating that they will have to take care of him if they want some share in the inheritance. In the end, it was decided that they will take turns to take care of him, 1 year per household. Following all this, Gu proceeds to his school, and on the way, he stops by a hospital where his big uncle works, thinking that he might have some free time this afternoon to accompany him to Mount Hem. Upon entering the hospital, he notices his uncle talking to nurses about some meeting in Shanghai. His uncle also notices him and questions his presence there. As Gu was about to answer, his uncle interrupts him, stating that his second uncle must have told him to visit him as his house is undergoing renovation next month and he wants him to foster him. Gu tells him that he is not visiting on behalf of his second uncle, which calms down his big uncle, who reassures him that he can visit him whenever he likes, commenting that he is irritated by his second uncle as he always tries to make excuses even though they agreed on 1 year per person foster care. Hearing this, Gu changes his mind and tells his uncle that he was just passing by and wanted to see him. His uncle apologizes to him, stating that he is quite busy this afternoon and will take him out for dinner some other day. Meanwhile, the mysterious girl we saw in the beginning exits the elevator and bumps into Gu, who was approaching the elevator. Following this, Gu suddenly feels an excruciating pain in his chest and kneels to the ground. Amidst all this, the cable of the elevator he was about to enter tears apart, with the elevator falling to the ground. This baffles Gu and the patients standing around him, commenting that this elevator malfunctioned before this as well and hasn't been fixed properly. Gu, on the other hand, is glad that he escaped the elevator at the very last moment, otherwise he would have died. With this, his phone starts ringing, and as he picks up the phone, he notices that Lu Yang is calling him. This annoys him, and he turns down the call, wondering why is she bothering him. As he is heading back to school, he chats with Lu Yang on the way, who questions him why did he hang up the call, referring to him as Samoyed. This annoys Gu even further, and he replies by stating that his name is not Samoyed. Lu Yang then tells him that the morning self-study class has already ended and knows he kissed him for being late, questioning if he will play hooky again. Gu, however, mostly kisses her back, saying that it is none of her business, and enters the bus. As he is getting off the bus and talking to Yu Lang, who notices a poster about a game stating that anyone can win $666 if they get 5 kills in it. This piques his interest, and he enters the arcade, thinking that he might get the chance to go on that trip with this money. Upon inquiring about the game from the owner's wife starts shouting at him for this ridiculous offer. The owner somehow managed to pursue Gu, and as he brings out his credit card to pay, the dean of students appears out of nowhere and snatches his card. This shocks Gu, and the next thing he knew, he's making laps around the school ground carrying a table on his shoulders with the dean chasing him on a bicycle. As he is running, he suddenly trips and falls to the ground. Meanwhile, a girl who is watching all this approaches him and asks what he is doing. The dean, on the other hand, starts shouting at Gu for opposing him, playing hooky, and hanging around in arcades, threatening to call his father. Even though Gu tells him that his father is on a business trip, the dean still insists and warns him that his father has to visit the school today, otherwise there can be serious consequences. As Gu is about to say something, the girl interferes and asks him about the song she had asked to download. This shocks the dean, and he questions her regarding this. The girl makes an excuse that the school computer room is not working because of some hacker issues, and they had to download songs from the internet cafe so she can send them to teacher Lai. She then shifts her attention to Gu once again, asking about the songs, to which Gu replies negatively. This satisfies the dean, and he tells Gu that he should have told him before about this. The girl then asks him to take the table back. Gu, even though slightly irritated by this, obeys her and picks up the table. As he is returning to his office, the dean asks the girl about this music teacher Lai, to which she replies by saying that he should take a look at the huge slogan beside him. The girl then winks at Gu, and they continue walking. Meanwhile, the mysterious girl who bumped into Gu at the hospital is watching all this, standing on the rooftop. As they are conversing, the girl asks him if she can at least get a thank you. Hearing this, Gu offers her his gratitude and continues walking with the girls, stopping him by grabbing his shirt, asking if they can visit Mount Hang together as both of their fathers are busy and can't accompany them. Hearing this, Gu pushes her away, saying that she shouldn't bother him unless it's necessary. Following this, as Gu is having lunch all alone in the classroom, the girl approaches him once again and offers him some food, stating that she is on a diet and he should eat it for her. Gu asks her to throw it away if she doesn't want to eat it, but the girl insists, saying that it would be a waste. This makes Gu furious as he shouts at her in front of all their classmates, embarrassing her. In the midst of all this, a happy-go-lucky guy appears out of nowhere and picks up the sparrows, inquiring Gu about his relationship with the girl. Gu tells him to stop imagining things as there is nothing between them. This guy, however, insists, stating that they were always together some time back, and now all they do is fight, questioning if all of this is because of those gossips. Gu has no idea what this guy is talking about and asks him about this gossip. The guy tells him that most people believe that Gu Xinghe is a handsome guy who lives off a woman. Gu denies all of these allegations, saying that he is not that sort of guy. However, the other guy still continues this conversation, stating that it is not his fault that Liu Yang's family is rich, and who doesn't want a rich girlfriend. This makes Gu angry, and he asks him to stop talking about this as there is nothing going on between them. Hearing this, the guy asks if he can borrow Liu Yang for some days as they are friends. This makes Gu even more furious as he smashes the guy's face with the lunchbox and knocks him to the ground. As he gets up, he asks Gu Xinghe if he has gone insane, and that there is definitely something going on between him and Liu Yang. The other students were shocked after witnessing this as well, thinking to themselves that Gu is always making trouble for everyone. Hearing this commotion, the teacher enters the classroom and orders the students to gather in the ground as they are about to leave for Mount Hang. Liu Yang's friends somehow convince her to avoid all this and head toward the ground. As she is leaving, she asks Gu if he is really not going, to which Gu remains silent. With this, Liu Yang leaves the class with a deserted look on her face, as he is sitting all alone, who thinks to himself that they belong to two different worlds and shouldn't have become friends in the first place. 1 year ago, on the night of the Christmas evening party, Gu Xinghe was sitting all alone in the classroom, and suddenly the door opened, with Liu Yang appearing from it. Gu tells her that the party is being held in the auditorium and that she has come to the wrong place. Liu Yang, who was struggling to even walk, informs him that she can't attend the party because she accidentally twisted her ankle and it is now swollen. Worried, Gu asks her if she is alright, to which Liu Yang replies by asking him what is he waiting for and that he should come and help her. Hearing this, Gu leaves his Rubik's Cube on the table and approaches Liu Yang to give her a hand. Liu Yang mostly kisses him, questioning if this is the right to help someone, and orders him to lend her his shoulder. She then asks him to take her by the window where she sat comfortably. Gu advises that she should call her dad and ask him to pick her up early, but Liu Yang tells him that her dad doesn't have time to deal with her. Gu then questions her about the man who dropped her off on the first day of school, to which Liu Yang replies by saying that it was the chauffeur, mocking Gu that he has been paying attention to her all this time. She also concurs that she has been doing the same and points out the similarities between them, as both of their parents are always absent for the parents' meetings. Gu, however, is shosihide after hearing that Liu Yang has been paying attention to her. Furthermore, he denies that their parents are the same, stating that his father is just too busy, thinking to himself that the rumors about Liu Yang's father marrying another woman are true. Following this, Liu Yang asks Gu about the thing she sees him solving every day. Gu tells her that it is known as a 3x3 Rubik's Cube and offers her to try solving it. Liu Yang, however, hesitates, saying that she doesn't know how to play, with Gu telling her that he will teach her. As they are conversing, the fireworks start flashing outside the window and both of them admire how beautiful they look. As Gu is reminiscing about all these memories, the happy-go-lucky guy kicks the door open, shouting his name. He then threatens Gu, stating that all of this is not over, as the shirt he ruined is an A-class product. Hearing this makes Gu angry as he questions him about what he wants him to do, smashing his hand on the table. This frightens the guy, and he replies by telling him that he doesn't want him to do anything, and that he was just letting him know that he's not a rich kid like Liu Yang, who warns him to not bring up her name in front of him again. Following this, the guy kicks him, asserting that they must have broken up as he is not even participating in her farewell. This shocks Gu, as he was not aware of anything related to farewell and inquires about it. The guy tells him that Liu Yang is transferring to another school after this trip, commenting about the weather and that it is getting worse and they won't be able to enjoy the trip. As he is talking, he notices that Gu has disappeared from the class. Gu, on the other hand, rushes straight to the ATM to withdraw some money, calculating the cost of food for 6 months. He realizes that after paying for the trip, he won't have money for 2 months worth of food and will have to live without eating. After withdrawing money, he rushes to the school to catch the bus for the trip, but upon reaching, the security guard tells him that the buses have already left. Hearing this, Gu starts running with the guard, telling him that he won't be able to catch up. As he is running, Gu apologizes to Liu Yang in his mind, stating that he doesn't hate her and that he is just scared of people making fun of him. He was afraid that Liu Yang would hate him if he tells her about his past, so he kept this a secret, and for this, he is sorry. Taking a shortcut, Gu jumps in front of the bus, shouting, "Stop the bus." The bus driver somehow manages to stop the bus and scolds Gu for being reckless and inquires about his class. Gu apologizes and asks him to let him in. As soon as Gu enters the bus, his teacher scolds him for his actions and that everyone would have suffered because of his actions. After Gu hands him over the travel fee, the teacher asks him to find his seat and sit down. Gu looks around and notices that the seat beside Liu Yang is vacant and settles down there. Liu Yang is baffled after seeing Gu and wonders what he is up to. As Gu is about to speak, his phone rings, and instead of picking it up, Gu puts it back into his pocket, continuing his conversation with Liu Yang. Gu thinks to himself that he will explain everything to his third aunt when he gets back. Meanwhile, the driver tells everyone to hold steady as he loses control of the bus. Gu's phone slips out of his hand and falls to the ground. With this, the phone call gets triggered, and his aunt starts shouting at him, calling him a jerk. Gu immediately rushes to hang up the call, but the phone is stuck beneath a seat, with his aunt scolding him for using the credit card without her permission. As the other students were giving him weird looks, Gu somehow manages to reach his phone and tries to hang up the call, but the hang up button was not working. His aunt is still scolding him, calling him a thief who once stole money from his second aunt as well. She then calls him an ungrateful brat and jerk whom nobody wanted and was abandoned. With no other option left, Gu smashes his phone to the ground, tearing it apart. Gu then asks his teacher to open the door so he can leave. The teacher tells him that he believes that he wouldn't do such a thing and returns the money, asking him to explain everything to his aunt. Gu insists that he wants to get off, and the driver had to stop the bus. As Gu gets off, he thinks to himself that it was bound to happen one day and accepts it as his destiny. As he is sulking over this incident, the bus stops at a distance as Liu Yang gets off it and rushes toward Gu. Gu, on the other hand, is shosiki to see this and starts crying, questioning Liu Yang why did she get off the bus. She tells him that she isn't going to, which Gu replies by asking if she's gone insane. Liu Yang replies sarcastically, stating that she is insane and if he has any meds for her. This makes Gu cry even more, asserting that he does not need her sympathy. Liu Yang calls him silly and wipes his tears. Following this, Gu thanks Liu Yang and both of them head to her apartment. As Liu Yang is taking a shower, Gu notices a picture of Liu Yang with her parents when she was little, pondering that she was so cute. With this, Liu Yang gets out of the shower and asks him what is he looking at. He immediately puts down the picture and gets embarrassed. Liu Yang asks him if she looked cute when she was little, to which Gu replies negatively. As they are conversing, red smoke appears out of nowhere and surrounds the entire building. Liu Yang then asks Gu to take a shower as well, but Gu refuses, stating that it would be terrible if his father come home. Liu Yang, however, tells him to not worry about anything as she lives alone. She further tells him that his family used to be really poor, and after her mother's death, her father got depressed and blamed everything on him. He then shifted his entire focus on earning money, and in the meantime completely neglected his own daughter. And now that he is rich and has a new home and car, he wants to marry again, but she would rather stay in this small apartment alone. This saddens Gu, but Liu Yang tries to cheer him up, suggesting that they should not talk about these things and that he should hurry up and take a shower before he catches cold. As he is in the shower, Gu wonders to himself that Liu Yang has been living alone all this time, and he doesn't know about it as he struggles to find the shower gel. He then ponders if Liu Yang would stay if he asks him to not transfer school. Upon getting out of the shower, Gu notices that the living room is completely dark, wondering if the light is broken. As he is searching for Liu Yang, she appears out of nowhere with a small cupcake in her hand and wishes him happy birthday, asking him to make a wish. This makes Gu tear up as Liu Yang emotionally kisses him for crying even though he's a man, stating that she made Samwade cry. As Gu tells her that his name is not Samwade, Liu Yang asks him to make a wish quickly as the noodles she made for him would get cold. After eating the noodles, Liu Yang questions him about their taste, to which Gu replies by saying that they were okay. He then asks her how did she know about his birthday, with Liu Yang telling him that it is a secret. Following this, she asks him to close his eyes and forbids him to peek. Gu reluctantly closes his eyes, wondering why is she being so secretive. Suddenly, his chest starts aching again, and as he opens his eyes, he notices a huge monster standing behind Liu Yang who is handing him over his birthday present. This freaks him out, and he asks Liu Yang to be careful as the monster approaches to attack her. Despite his warning, the monster still managed to strike Liu Yang and thrashes her into the wall. This makes Gu angry as he pushes the monster away and rushes toward Liu Yang, stating that he will take her to the hospital immediately. After Liu Yang tells him to run away, she loses consciousness and faints in his arms. As Gu tells Liu Yang that everything will be fine, he picks her up and starts running, but something is off. As soon as he starts running, his surroundings suddenly transform into a hospital setting where doctors are treating Liu Yang and his memories get hazy. He can't really remember how he got there and what is he doing there. He asks the doctors to save his friend no matter what it takes. As Gu is confused, wondering what's happening around him, his uncle appears out of nowhere and asks if he possesses some solid object. He is shocked to see his uncle there, wondering what he needs this solid object for. His uncle tells him that in order to start the operation, he needs something to support her arm. With no other option left, Gu brings out his Rubik's Cube and asks if this would work. Suddenly, his uncle's appearance changes as he orders him to hand over the Rubik's Cube. As Gu approaches his uncle to hand over the cube, a mysterious voice forbids him to move. Gu is confused by all this as his uncle tells him to hand over the cube as his friend is running out of time. Meanwhile, the mysterious voice tells him that all of this is just an illusion, and with this, Gu remembers that his uncle was supposed to travel to Shanghai for a business trip and questions him about it. His uncle, who had now turned into a literal monster, approaches him to grab the cube, but the mysterious voice tells him to move away and a girl appears out of nowhere. She then pushes away the monster with a kick and slashes it in half using a knife. With this, Gu's surroundings transform once again, but this time around, all he could see was a golden tree at some distance. The girl enlightens him that what he is witnessing might not be real, but fear surpasses reality. Baffled by all this, Gu is unable to comprehend what she is saying and questions her about this. He literally bombards her with questions related to the monster and why are they attacking them. He then asks her about Liu Yang and where is she, but the girl is constantly ignoring him. She then asks him to be quiet as her watch warns her about an unknown creature. As they are conversing, Gu notices a massive eye underneath his feet, giving him chills. The girl then warns him that there is something behind her, and as Gu turns around, a strange monster appears from the water and attacks him. He starts panicking as the girl tells him again that all of this is an illusion. However, as the monster approaches her, she senses an aura of death that shows seeks her, and she somehow manages to dodge its attack. She then pulls out her knife and upon slashing the monster with it, she realizes that they're under attack by a phantom. As her watch warns her about a spirit erosion, she contemplates that if she keeps fighting the phantom, her spirit would eventually be invaded by the illusionist. Meanwhile, a horde of monsters had surrounded them completely, and as one of them approaches to attack her, she senses a strong aura of death and resolves to defeat it here. But much to her surprise, a monster slides past her. She realizes that it was targeting Gu from the beginning. As the monster is about to hit him, the girl somehow manages to save him and strike the monster. Upon striking the monster, she realizes that the real body is hiding inside these phantom monsters, and in order to annihilate it, she has to defeat the monsters. With this, 3 monsters appear from the water and approach her. She dodges their attacks, meanwhile observing them and their death auras, concluding that the real body is shifting from one body to another. With no other option left, she pulls out another knife and decides to go all out. She absolutely obliterates the monsters as her watch warns her about the progressing spiritual erosion degree. The girl pays no heed to it and continues the massacre. Upon defeating the monsters, her spiritual erosion had reached 100% and she falls to her knees. Gu rushes to her side, asking if she's okay. With this, a huge monster appears out of nowhere and confronts them. As it is about to strike Gu, the girl opens her eyes that seem a little different from before, and with a mysterious creature hiding behind her ear. She then grabs the monster from its neck and the creature devours it completely. With this, their surroundings turn back to normal and Gu realizes that they were present in the parking lot all this time. Meanwhile, the creature vomits out an eye and the girl realizes that the evil entity was actually an eye. Gu, on the other hand, tries waking up Liu Yang and reassures her that he will take her to the hospital. As he picks up Liu Yang, the other girl stands up and ambushes Gu from behind, rendering him unconscious. As he wakes up, he notices that he is at a weird place with a massive wall beside him. A mysterious person in cloak sitting on the top of the wall questions if he is awake. Gu, who's trying to comprehend what is happening, inquires about his identity. This strange person completely ignores his question and then asks him if he wants to climb the wall, ordering him to come up. With this, Gu starts floating and lands on the top of the wall. He asks the guy in cloak about this place, to which he replies by stating that it is the end of the world. Gu once again inquires about his identity, and this time around the guy tells him that he's a grave guard, puzzling him. Gu then questions him about the grave, to which the guy replies by saying that this grave belongs to an old friend and that he won't mind them standing on it. Following this, Gu asks him to send him back, but the guy confuses him by questioning him about the place he wants to go back to. As Gu is about to speak, he realizes that he is forgetting something important, and suddenly, memories flood his mind and he remembers that he has to save Liu Yang. But as soon as he looks at his hand, it is covered entirely in blood, with a guy telling that this world will soon be covered in blood. Furthermore, he states that he should go back and that they will meet again. Following this, Gu wakes up in his bed, covered in blood. It had been a few since that incident, and the police concluded it to be a robbery, making him think that all of the things he had experienced were just a dream. He then calls the police officer in charge of this case and inquires about the case's progression. The officer tells him that they will contact the girl's family if there is any progression. After this, Gu proceeds to his school as usual. Upon reaching the school, he notices the students around him gossiping about Liu Yang's incident and spreading weird rumors about the guy who is suspected to be involved in it, meaning Gu. Hearing all this, Gu gives them a cold look and proceeds to his classroom. During the class, the happy-go-lucky guy who sits beside him inquires about the case progression. This irritates Gu as he denies giving him any information regarding the case. The guy, however, provokes him even further by asking what did they do after getting off the bus. In the meantime, the teacher appears and forbids them to talk during class. She then motivates the entire class, stating that despite this incident, they have to concentrate on their studies as their future depends on it. Flashback to the time when the mysterious girl knocked Gu out, the police arrived at the spot and took Gu with them to the police station, where they inquired him about the incident. According to the security cameras, Gu was sleeping all this time and wasn't involved in any of it. The officer asks him if he really doesn't remember anything and tells him that they had transferred Liu Yang to the hospital where doctors are currently treating her. When Gu asks the doctors about her condition and whether she will ever wake up, the doctor tells him that Liu Yang's situation is very rare and the chances of her waking up are pretty dim. Meanwhile, in the present, after the class is concluded, Gu's teacher approaches him and tries to motivate him, stating that he shouldn't take other students' words to his heart. As they are conversing, Gu receives a message from an unknown number, telling him to meet them at the hospital. Gu immediately realizes that it is the mysterious girl and rushes to the hospital. Upon reaching Liu Yang's room, he confronts the girl, who tells him that he has 3 minutes. Without wasting any moment, Gu questions her regarding Liu Yang's condition and if she can be cured. The girl's answer was a no. Upon inquiring about the reason behind it, she tells him that Liu Yang has been bitten by a death disciple, and once you're bitten, there is no cure. Gu then questions her about these death disciples, what are they, and why did they attack Liu Yang? The girl replies by stating that she herself doesn't know the reason behind this attack. Hearing this, Gu moxics her, saying that even though she specialized in killing, how come she doesn't know? The girl tells him that they are always trying to control these monsters and keep them away from humanity, but their understanding of them is very limited. Furthermore, she tells him that these death disciples are classified as microbes that create hallucinations by altering light rays, and that they are not as simple as viruses. She then enlightens him about the incident that took place in Star Town not too long ago. She tells him that it felt like the blood-red floating substances had gained some sort of intelligence as they assembled together from an unconscious and scattered state to invade the Security Bureau's database. And using that database, they managed to find their target. This makes Gu wonder if he was their target. The girl, however, tells him that they are still not sure if he was their target or not. For Gu, things were not making any sense, because if he was the target, then why did the monster attack Liu Yang? With this, the girl tells him that his 3 minutes are up and hands him a huge syringe. Upon inquiring about it, the girl tells him that this syringe contains some neurotoxins that can kill a person instantly, leaving Gu shocked. Furthermore, she states that any person who gets infected by the death disciple eventually dies, turning into a death disciple, and not a single person has managed to survive over 90 days. She asks him to put an end to this by himself, otherwise, someone else will, and it will be much more painful. As the girl is leaving, Gu stops her, questioning if she's trying to fool some 3-year-old child, and asserts that he doesn't believe in this death disciple stuff. With this, he hurls away the syringe and warns her to not touch Liu Yang. Suddenly, his body stops responding and he falls to his knees, with the girl ordering him to finish Liu Yang off. Despite all this, Gu is persistent that he won't kill Liu Yang using the syringe, which makes the girl angry, and she smashes his face into the ground. Following this, Gu leaves the hospital with the syringe, wondering if this is really the only option he has. Shrouded with all these thoughts, Gu subconsciously wanders off to Liu Yang's place, hoping that all of this is just a dream and Liu Yang might still have a way to survive. As he is standing there all alone, he notices that the caution tape has been torn off, meaning that the police have finished collecting evidence and the house can now be infiltrated. Upon entering the house, Gu notices that everything has been tidied up and the blood stain marks have been removed with no trace of the blood red floating substance either. He is still wondering why did the death disciples attack Liu Yang if their target was him. As he is sulking over this, he hears Liu Yang's voice calling him Samoyed, but as he turns around, he realizes that there is no one around him, and he is just imagining things. Thinking about Liu Yang and all her memories, Gu remembers that she gifted him a keychain before the attack and pulls it out from his pocket. He notices that it was actually a flash drive and not a keychain. This makes him question why did Liu Yang give him a flash drive as a gift, wondering about the contents of the drive. Upon inserting the flash drive into a laptop, Gu finds out that Liu Yang had pre-recorded a video message for him. In this video, she tells him about her school transfer to Norway and how they won't be able to see each other again. She then compliments his Rubik's Cube skills and wishes him happy birthday. This makes Gu tear up and suddenly, his heart starts aching. He rushes to the washroom to wash his face, thinking to himself that he doesn't deserve Liu Yang's kindness and any gift. With all of this going on, he realizes that in all those hallucinations, the monster was demanding him to hand over the Rubik's Cube, which Liu Yang was holding at the time she got attacked. This makes him realize that they were after the cube from the beginning, and it is his fault that Liu Yang had to suffer. Following this, as he is wandering around the streets, he starts shouting, demanding someone to get out as he knows they are watching him. With this, the mysterious girl appears out of nowhere and confronts him. Without wasting any time, Gu questions her if she knew about this from the beginning. She knew that the blood-red floating substances would attack him to steal a cube, and if yes, then why didn't she warn him beforehand? If she had told him, he wouldn't have chased after the bus that day and Liu Yang wouldn't have had to suffer. He then questions her about her identity, to which the girl replies by saying that they are energy hunters, and it is their responsibility to get rid of the death disciples, asking him to keep this a secret as it will affect her exam's result. This makes Gu furious as he questions her whether exam results are more important than human lives, to which the girl replies positively, stating that people die every day due to earthquakes, tsunamis, and other natural disasters. This makes Gu even more furious as he states that Liu Yang is no ordinary and that his life is meaningless without her. He further concludes that he will do anything to save her even if it costs him his life. Seeing his determination, the girl tells him that there is just one person who had survived after getting bitten by a death disciple, but she has no clue who he is. She also tells him that the organization will send someone to take care of the aftermath and that he might have some information regarding this matter. But for this, he has to rush home as soon as possible, otherwise he will miss his chance. Hearing this, Gu rushes to his home where he meets a guy named Tang Qian who introduces himself as the director of the admission office, Yuwen Experimental Middle School. As he greets him, Gu notices that this guy is wearing the same watch as the girl, meaning that he is also an energy hunter and is here to deal with the aftermath. In the meantime, his aunt brings some fruits and asks Tang to settle down. Tang tells them that his main objective for coming here is to meet Gu Xing, and after explaining the school's history, he tells them that the school has created numerous qualified professionals that are now serving the country. His aunt agrees with him, further stating that Yuwen's fee alone totals up to around 1 million bucks, and that it is not a school middle-class families like theirs can afford. Tang, however, informs them that Gu has recently won the National Rubik's Cube tournament, and due to this reason, the school is willing to give him a full fee recession. Furthermore, if he continues to compete and win tournaments, they will grant him a $50,000 scholarship. Gu, on the other hand, is wondering why is Tang discussing school enrollment when he is here to take care of the aftermath and questions him regarding the admission. Tang tells him that if his grades are good enough, he can directly enroll in their affiliated university is Seattle. Hearing this, Gu makes it clear that if this is just about studying, then he is not going to transfer schools, shocking his uncle and aunt. His aunt starts shouting at him, stating that this scholarship is more than enough for them to buy a new house. His uncle, on the other hand, reassures Tang that Gu will attend the school and that they will somehow convince him. Following this, Tang leaves and could listen to Gu's aunt shouting at him for not listening to them. Upon reaching his car, Tang calls the organization, informing them that this plan wasn't successful and that they have to prepare a medical diagnosis book for Gu Xing. As he is about to leave, he notices Gu standing in front of his car and takes him to a restaurant where they can converse freely. At the restaurant, Tang asks Gu if he has thought about transferring the school, to which he replies by revealing that he knows about the reparation process and that he's the one who is supposed to carry it out. Tang is shoked after hearing this and asks if he knows anything else. Gu tells him that he is conscious of the fact that he is an energy hunter who is responsible for eliminating death disciples, and that he is the only person who can save his friend. Following this, Tang questions him why should he help him, to which Gu replies by stating that as long as he saves his friend, he will attend Yuwen Middle School. Tang doesn't seem impressed by his answer and tells him that there are multiple other ways to deal with the aftermath other than transferring schools. They can remove the white matter of his brain and send him to rot in some mental institute. Gu tries convincing him that he is not trying to threaten him or anything, He just wants to save his friend, and for that purpose, he will do anything, whether it be transferring schools or undergoing some surgery. Hearing all this, Tang reminds him that there is not a single person who has survived the bite of a death disciple, and that one person who somehow survived was a miracle. However, Gu is still persistent and asks Tang to help him. With no other option left, Tang asks him if he wants to join their organization, and Gu immediately agrees. Tang tells him that for him to join their organization, he has to pass a simple test, and when Gu inquires about the details of the test, he tells him that it is a secret. He then asks Gu to sit down and wishes him luck for the test. As Gu leaves the restaurant, he ponders about the test and how is he supposed to deal with it. With all of this going on, he hears a familiar voice and realizes that his teacher, Miss Qiao, is hanging out with Liu Yang's father. As they are wandering around, Miss Qiao asks Liu Yang's father about some deal regarding the house. Liu Yang's father hesitates a bit, but Shimo kicks him, stating that he was the one who offered her Liu Yang's house, even if it meant sending his daughter away. After she manages to convince him, Liu Yang's father leaves as he was getting late for the office. With this, Miss Qiao decides to head back to her home as well, but as she turns back, Gu confronts her, questioning if she wants to take over Liu Yang's house. Miss Qiao acts to be oblivious to this fact, but when Gu insists, Shimo kicks him, stating that he can't do a single thing even if she is trying to take over the house. Furthermore, she makes fun of his relationship with Liu Yang, commenting that they had something weird going on. This makes Gu furious, and he warns Miss Qiao that he won't let her slander Liu Yang. Miss Qiao, however, makes fun of Liu Yang, stating that he could have kept herself in line, she wouldn't have attracted a break-in robbery, and that Liu Yang is already half dead, so there's nothing wrong in her taking over the house. This makes Gu even more furious as he approaches Miss Qiao to punch her, asserting that a person like her shouldn't be a teacher in the first place. As he's about to punch her, Miss Qiao brings out her phone and takes a picture, warning Gu that she will sue him if he hits her. However, as soon as she looks at the picture, she notices that there are huge insects covering Gu's face and gets Shotsuhigi. Suddenly, these insects ambush her, and when she hits them with her bag, they explode. She blames Gu for all this, who himself is Shotsuhigi as to what is happening. With all of this going on, both of them decide to flee. As they are running, Miss Qiao notices a girl walking towards her and asks her to contact the police. It was the mysterious girl Gu had met before. Instead of calling the police, the girl knocks her unconscious, stealing her phone. She then hurls the phone towards the insects, killing multiple insects with it. Gu asks her if she is on another mission, to which the girl replies by pointing towards the horde of insects flying above them and asks Gu to follow her. Upon inquiring about these things, she tells him that these are explosive dragonflies level C death disciples, further stating that these insects don't usually attack humans and are tender in nature. As they are running away, she takes Gu to a nearby forest and suggests that they walk through it to avoid the insects. On their way, she tells him that the insects have probably mistaken him for their burst queen and are trying to return to their nest, meaning that they are trying to enter the queen's body and that there are definitely traces of the burst queen's blood in his body. Following this, she asks him to stay there as she approaches some guys standing beside a motorbike, and without saying any word, she hops onto the bike and steals it. The guys couldn't do a single thing as they had fallen for her. With the insects following her, she asks Gu to get on the bike and sit tightly. As they are running away, Gu realizes that the wine Tang gave him must have contained the blood of the burst queen, and that this is the test he has to pass in order to join the organization. The girl, on the other hand, notices that the insects are catching up to them and asks Gu to sit tightly as she speeds up the bike. Gu then questions her regarding the reason she's helping him, to which the girl replies by clarifying that she is not helping him, she just wants to improve her grades and these death disciples will affect her overall score. She then tells him if all of these disciples explode at the same time, it would be equivalent to tons of TNT. When Gu inquired about their weakness, the girl tells him that they are scared of water, and as they are conversing, Gu notices that there's a tunnel ahead, suggesting that they should go through it. Upon entering the tunnel, they manage to lose some of the insects as they collide with the wall. Gu then informs her about the presence of a fire hydrant nearby and that they should rush toward it. On their way, they come across a barricade stating that the road ahead is closed. But at this point, they have no other choice but to break through it and continue their escape. As soon as they cross the barricade, Gu notices a massive pit in front of them and implores the girl to stop the bike, but she tells him that there will be nothing left if they stop here. With this, she stands up on the bike and jumps over the pit, leaving Gu behind. Gu, on the other hand, somehow manages to hang on to the other side of the pit. Seeing this, the girl offers him her hand, and as she is pulling Gu up the bike, they explode, tossing them out of the tunnel. Upon getting up, Gu notices the fire hydrant near him and rushes to open it, but they didn't have enough strength after all this. The girl immediately realizes this and asks Gu to move aside. She then rushes toward the hydrant and shatters it with a kick. With this, the water oozes out from it, engulfing the dragonflies. The girl is relieved that she was right and the dragonflies were afraid of water, but this is not the end, as hundreds of them are still left. However, they are not approaching them because of the water, but as soon as the water flow stopped, the dragonflies attack them again. As they are about to strike Gu, the girl gets in front of him and activates Spirit Invasion, trapping all the dragonflies in some sort of barrier. She then asks Gu to run away as she won't be able to hold them for long, and they will explode as soon as the barrier vanishes. Gu, however, refuses to leave her alone and die for his sake, but insists, questioning if he wants to die here or save his friend. With only 10 seconds left, blood starts oozing out from the girl's eyes. Gu, on the other hand, turns back and picks up a stone, hurling it toward the dragonflies, initiating a chain reaction. But it is not enough to kill all of them. He then asks the girl to stay here and runs as fast as he could, thinking to himself that Liu Yang got injured because of him and now he can't get anyone else involved. He soon realizes that he won't be able to escape for long and has to do something. In the meantime, one of the dragonfly catches up to him and explodes, tossing him away. As he is sitting helplessly on the ground, he remembers that his grandma once told him that he is the child of the Shan waters. As tears start rolling down his face, he stands up and jumps into the river with the dragonflies following him. With this tactic, he manages to get rid of the dragonflies, but now his own life is in danger as he's about to drown. Suddenly, he notices Liu Yang's shadow in the water, but it was not Liu Yang, it was the mysterious girl who saves him and pulls him out of the river. As soon as they get out, she scolds him for being too reckless, calling him immature. In the midst of all this, Gu receives a call from Tang, who asks him about the dragonflies and if he dealt with them by himself. Hearing this, Gu looks at the girl who nods, telling him to lie. Gu tells Tang that he defeated the dragonflies by himself and gets congratulated on passing the test. The following day at the Chrysanthemum Airport, Tang Qiao is watching the footage of Gu and the girl defeating the dragonflies as he is talking to someone else on the phone. Tang tells him that he wanted to test the queen's blood for a long time, and it seemed like the perfect opportunity. However, the guy on the phone informs him that the academy has already reached the student enrollment quota of the year, and besides, Gu Xinghe cheated in the test. Following this, they discuss something about a judicial officer, and Tang tells him that they complete the investigation and give him a proper explanation. With this, he tells him that it is time for him to catch a plane and hangs up. Gu Xinghe, on the other hand, is receiving special treatment from his aunt as she tells him to not forget them after getting enrolled in Yuan. She also mostly kisses his other uncle, calling him a snob. As his aunt and uncle are arguing about something, Gu tells them that he is not hungry anymore and rushes back to his room where he looks at some old photographs and cries, asking Liu Yang to wait for him. After this, his uncle takes him out to complete the school transferring procedure, and on their way, he keeps bragging to other people about how his nephew got enrolled into Yuan Middle School. Upon reaching the school, a teacher stops them, stating that parents are not allowed in school, but Gu's uncle tells him that they are here to complete the school leaving procedure. However, upon seeing Gu, the teacher immediately recognizes him and moves to kiss him, questioning if the headmaster has expelled him. This makes his uncle furious as he discloses that they are going to Yuan Middle School, leaving the teacher appalled. On their way to the headmaster's office, Gu encounters Miss Kyo, who is Shosiki, to see him there. His uncle tells her that Gu is leaving school and he is accompanying him to complete the process. He then questions her about the director they are supposed to meet for this. Hearing this makes Miss Kyo delighted as she offers to lead them to the office herself. One of Gu's classmates was overhearing this conversation and tells everyone about it. Upon reaching the office, they meet the headmaster, who inquires about the legitimacy of the documents. His uncle tells him that Gu is a special recruitment student, and after completing the procedure, they will head to Yuan to complete the enrollment process. This baffles Miss Kiao and Gu's classmates, who were overhearing all this. After the headmaster stamped the papers, he congratulates Gu and his uncle, stating that it is an honor for them as one of their students got enrolled into Yuan. As they are leaving the office, Miss Kiao also congratulates him and wishes him luck for the future. The happy-go-lucky guy is also among the students who were eavesdropping and follows them outside, where he confronts Gu and his uncle, stating that they can rely on them if they ever need some shirate. This makes his uncle furious as he tells him that he can definitely afford the tuition fee for Gu. The guy, however, continues mocking them, asserting that if Gu Sang can make it to Yuan, then he can definitely study abroad. After Gu's uncle asks him to ignore the guy, they proceed toward Yuan and ask the guard to open the gate. But the guard refuses to open the gate, stating that the recruitment has already ended and that he hasn't received any special notification. Hearing this, the happy-go-lucky guy mocks Gu's uncle, saying that an imposter has tricked them, with all of his classmates laughing in the back. With all of this going on, Gu's uncle makes a call to Tang Kao, but his number was turned off, which makes him think that Tang Kao was really a fraud. Gu's classmates, on the other hand, were making fun of him, asking him to take a picture so that he can post it on social media. Gu, however, wonders if this is because he didn't complete the test by himself and even lied. With all of this going on, his uncle utters that they should go back home as they will not enroll into this school anymore. Hearing this, Gu thinks to himself that if he doesn't attend this school, there will no way he can save Liu Yang. This makes Gu shout in anger, stating that he wants to attend Yuan no matter what. In the midst of all this, the gate suddenly open and the guards orders everyone to get aside. But much to their surprise, the car stopped at the gate and a beautiful girl got out, introducing herself as the deputy president of the student council at Yuan Middle School, Wang Yuxi. It was the same mysterious girl Gu had met before. She tells them that the board of directors have entrusted her to specifically welcome Xinghe to Yuan and asks Gu and his uncle to get in the car. This makes Gu's classmates jealous and they start questioning the guy who had brought them here. After long, Yuxi thanks Gu's classmates for sending him off. She gets into the car and the gate closes, leaving them clueless. Upon reaching the school, Long Yuxi asks a guy to take Gu to the dorms. He addresses Yuxi as sister-in-law and tells her to not worry about anything. Yuxi gives him a cold look which scares him and he starts the car to leave. Gu's uncle offers to accompany him so he can help him set up his bed, but Yuxi stops him, stating that parents are not allowed in the dormitories and besides, he has to finalize the enrollment process. On their way, the guy introduces himself as Zhang Zhao and implores him to rely on him if he needs anything. Gu is confused by all this and inquires about the dorms. Zhang informs him that there are no dorms and that they are heading toward the gathering point from where they will leave for the Energy Hunting Academy. Upon reaching their destination, Zhang questions Gu about his abilities and asks if he can show him a few tricks. Gu tells him that he has no abilities, but Zhang doesn't believe him, asserting that Mr. Tang went through the green channel to get him enrolled, so he's bound to have some crazy powers. As they are conversing, a guy appears out of nowhere and blasts away the car, questioning Gu if he is the rumored enrolled student. Zhang addresses him as Brother Cheng and asks if he's heading for the gathering point. Cheng tells Zhang to shut up and throws a basketball toward Gu to test his abilities. As the basketball is about to strike Gu, he suddenly disappears, leaving Cheng clueless. Zhang had actually used his ability on Gu to make him float and saved him. As they are floating, Zhang warns him that he shouldn't mess with Cheng as he's way too strong, and it's almost like he's Shihiding. As they are conversing, Cheng jumps in the air and attempts to punch them, but Zhang saves him once again by deactivating his ability and descending to the ground. However, they are not safe on the ground as Cheng follows them and attempts to strike Gu again. But this time around, a girl appears out of nowhere and creates an ice wall in front of them. Cheng shatters it into pieces and warns her to stay out of this, but the girl persists, stating that he is bullying a new student and she won't stand this. Hearing this, Cheng Moxie kisses her, stating that she stands no chance against him and slides past her to confront Gu, grabbing him by his face. Shiyu asks him to let go of him, but Cheng doesn't listen and continues bullying him. In the midst of all this, a teacher appears at the spot and attacks Cheng, which he dodges quite easily. He then provokes Cheng to fight him if he is capable enough. This angers Cheng, and he punches the teacher, and much to his surprise, the punch had no effect on him as he mo-kissed Cheng, stating that his skills are impractical. He then grabs Cheng by his face and smashes him into the ground, ordering everyone to hurry to the gathering point. Upon reaching the gathering point, Zhang questions Gu why didn't he retaliate against Cheng, even though he was literally bullying him. As they are conversing, Xia appears at the spot and tosses a letter toward Gu, sitting beside him. She then introduces herself and suggests that they become friends. Gu, however, asks her to go look for someone else, which makes Xia believe that he is quite shy. She then questions him about his hunting abilities, asking him to show some tricks. Zhang interferes and tells her that Gu has no hunting abilities and is a complete novice. She didn't believe him at first, but Zhang somehow manages to convince her that Gu is just a normal human being. Gu then questions them about the hunting energy they keep talking about and how do they acquire it, which shows Sikix, Zhang, and Xia. This makes Xia believe that Gu is a rookie, and she stands up to enlighten him about hunting energy. She asks him if he has ever heard of Taoism or Qi practicing. Hu tells her that he has at least heard about them but doesn't know much. Xia tells him that Tao or Kai is the creator and source of life of all living things in the universe, and that they call it energy. Zhang also adds to this explanation, stating that without energy, the human body won't be able to function anymore, and that if all the energy is consumed, they will die. Xia further tells him that there are humans in this world that can borrow this energy from their surroundings and use it for themselves. Following this, Xia comments that they are fated to meet and that they should form a team. As they are conversing, Zhang notices helicopters in the sky as their teacher announces that headquarter helicopters have arrived and orders them to form groups as they are about to leave. On their way, Xia proposes that they name their group the Three Musketeers, but Zhang rejects it, stating that it is too old-fashioned. She suggests some more names like the Golden Triangle, but gets rejected every time. As they are discussing, Cheng interferes and asks them to shut up, but gets thoroughly ignored by the three of them. Xia, on the other hand, keeps on suggesting names like the Three Brothers and the Mighty Three, but Zhang rejects them all. Meanwhile, Gu comes up with the name UNO comprising the initials of their names. With this, they decide to name their group UNO, with Xia becoming the leader and Zhang becoming the deputy leader. With no other option left, they allotted Gu the responsibility of younger brother. Following this, the teacher orders them to stay quiet as the pilot informs him that they have lost contact with the headquarters. Hearing this, Teacher Qin asks him to land on the coast as they haven't received any lodging authorization. Upon reaching the island, everyone gathers around Teacher Qin, who is talking to someone regarding an invasion by the Dusk organization. When Gu questions Xia and Zhang about this organization, they tell him that it is an evil organization comprising energy hunters who kill people without even thinking. Xia further tells him that most of them are involved in extreme crimes and are wanted criminals all over the world. As they are conversing, an army appears at the spot stating that they have been sent by the academy to escort the students. According to them, the Dusk organization had launched a massive attack and the entire island is in a state of emergency. Without any other thought, Teacher Kin asks the students to get into the car, who senses something strange from this guide, but he ignores it. As they are heading toward the truck, Xia asks Gu if he also found the guy who is escorting him handsome. Zhang, who is overhearing all this, mocks her, stating that he is nowhere near handsome. On their way, Gu feels a sudden pain in his chest, but he ignores it. Teacher Qin, who is sitting beside the driver, questions why are the streetlights turned off, and suddenly, the driver pulls out a gun, pointing it toward Teacher Qin. The driver shoots Teacher Qin, which makes the students panic as they hear a gunshot. With no other option left, Cheng confronts the guard in their cabin and kicks him out of the truck. However, the guards still manage to kill several students. As Cheng tosses a door towards him, the guard stops it using his ability. The surviving students, on the other hand, manage to get out of the truck, including Xia, Zhang, and Gu. With her perceptiveness, Xia freezes the truck entrance and orders the students to rush toward the forest. As soon as they start running, she notices the driver who had shot Teacher Qin and freezes his arm as he was about to shoot. With this, they have enough to get as far as they can. The imposters, on the other hand, are gravely injured as Cheng managed to break the ribs of one of them. As they are escaping, one of the survivors comments that they saw Teacher Qin's blood on the window and that he is dead. They also suggest that all the teachers are dead. Hearing this, one of the girls starts crying, but Cheng tells him to shut up as there is nothing they can do now. With all of this going on, Hu notices a church at some distance and suggests that they head for it to get some help. Upon reaching the church, Gu immediately realizes that it has been abandoned for quite some time and there is no one there. As Zhang closes the door, one of the students starts crying and blames the academy for all this. He also blames Xia for telling them to flee into the forest, and now they will all die. Xia, however, tells him that it was in their best interest to flee into the forest as the island has just one highway and running along it would mean instant death. Hu tries to calm everyone down, stating that the teachers and the pilot are dead, so they can only rely on themselves. She also motivates them by asserting that even though they haven't officially entered the academy, they are still energy hunters. Zhang, however, comments that even energy hunters can't do anything against a bullet, and Xia agrees, saying that their biggest threat right now is the guns. She further tells everyone that if they somehow manage to steal their guns, their chances of survival will increase and the school will eventually send out a rescue team. Following this, she suggests that they formulate a strategy for survival. Cheng, however, kisses her, stating that he doesn't need any strategy and that he will kill them. The crying student is still not convinced, asserting that they are up against the Dusk organization and none of them stands any chance against them. With all of this going on, a bullet penetrates his chest, frightening the others. There seems no end to the bullets as they continue penetrating the huge door, but Gu and the others somehow manage to survive this ambush and hide. After the gunshots stop, the imposters enter the church in pursuit of the students. Using his ability, one of them senses their location and informs his leader that there's a student hiding behind the chair at 2 ohms clock, but the leader stops him, stating that he wants to play with him a little. When Zhang calculates the directions, he realizes that he is the one hiding behind a chair at 2 ohms clock. As the leader approaches Zhang, he starts praying for his life, and much to his surprise, the prayers worked. The leader hears the cry of another student who is sitting beside Cheng and turns back. Seizing this opportunity, Xia orders Zhang to proceed according to the plan they discussed earlier. Scared, Zhang is hesitant at first, but he soon realizes that there is no other option left and he has to fight. Mustering up the courage, Zhang approaches the leader, but being the type of guy he is, he accidentally trips and falls. Seeing this, the leader kicks him, stating that if he's going for a sneak attack, then he should be a little more professional. Following this, Zhang starts begging for his life, but little did the leader know, Zhang was trying to divert his attention as he activates his ability, Gravity 10X, and renders the leader incapable to move. He then asks for Xia's help, who orders Gu to stay there and wait for her signal as she rushes to help Zhang. Meanwhile, the other soldiers who were standing at the door point their guns toward them, but Cheng disarms them using some metal bars and hurls a student toward them. He then proceeds to ambush the remaining soldier and asks everyone to relax and witness. He then bombards the soldier with a series of punches and even manages to disarm him, tossing him into the wall. To kill the soldier, Cheng picks up the pistol and attempts to shoot him, but much to his surprise, the soldier dodges the bullet and counterattacks, disarming Cheng, and even manages to pin him using his leg. This shocked everyone as they were not expecting Cheng to be defeated this easily. Meanwhile, the leader also utilizes his ability, breaking free from Zhang's ability and smashing him into the wall. With no other option left, Xia picks up a gun and threatens him to not move. The leader, however, compliments her and suggests that she shouldn't play with dangerous devices. With this, he activates his ability and explodes the pistol, while Xia was still holding it. Following this, the other soldier approaches him and asks him to take care of this girl, so they can get rid of the remaining children. The leader is so sick that he had to use his ability against mere children. As they are conversing, Xia shoots an ice spike toward him, stating that she won't die this easily and continues shooting spikes. This provokes the leader and activates his ability to finish her off, bombarding her with fire shots. Xinghe, however, manages to dodge all of them, but she immediately notices that one of the soldiers is heading toward Zhang, who was lying unconscious. Zhang, on the other hand, is pretending to be unconscious so that the soldier comes near him and can sneak up on him, but he is disappointed to notice that the soldier stopped midway and pointed his gun toward him. As the soldier is about to shoot him, Xinghe deflects a fire shot toward him to divert his attention. In the meantime, Zhang activates his ability and floats in the air only to get kicked, but he still manages to touch the soldier and once again activate his ability. Xinghe also manages to close the distance between her and the leader, asking him where is he even looking. After she freezes him using her ability, she orders Gu to make a run for it and seek help from the academy. Zhang had also managed to capture the soldier and asks Gu to run as fast as he can because he won't be able to hold on any longer. Meanwhile, Xinghe mocks the leader, stating that their plan succeeded and they won't be able to run away until reinforcements arrive. However, the leader seems pretty calm and kisses her back, complimenting her abilities and asserting that they have no more options now. He then utilizes his ability and breaks free from the ice, capturing Xinghe in the process. The other soldier had also managed to escape and shoots Zhang as he is telling Gu to leave him behind and run away. Seeing this, Xinghe loses control and breaks free from the leader's ability and ambushes him with everything she's got, but the soldier shoots her as well, ending her life. Witnessing all this, Gu thinks to himself, why does this happen to him every time? He can only watch people die from the side and can do nothing to save them. With this, the Rubik's Cube he's holding in his hand starts glowing and teleports into a mysterious place where he could see Liu Yang playing with his grandma, Xia, Zhang, and Chang fighting among themselves regarding who will fly the kite. As they are fighting, the kite's string snaps, and it falls right beside Gu. They ask him to pick up the kite for them, but Gu is unable to move as he is too tired. In the midst of all this, another Xinghe appears out of nowhere and greets him, stating that they have finally met. He then picks up the kite and hurls it away, asking Gu if this is what he wanted to do his entire life. Gu, however, seems clueless as the other Gu further asserts that he wants to fly freely, but doesn't have the ability to grow wings. He then suggests Gu that he should allow himself to grow a body full of spikes. Hearing all this, Gu questions him regarding his identity, to which the imposter Gu replies by stating that he's him, the Gu he never wanted to acknowledge. He further states that he has always been jealous of other people's families, their talents, and their happiness. After Gu tells him to shut up, the imposter tells him that jealousy is useless, and that it is better to turn into a hedgehog and hurt everyone who comes close to him, pointing towards the people who tried getting close to him but got killed in the process. Hearing this, tears start rolling down his cheeks as he orders the imposter to shut up. The imposter, however, continues mocking him, declaring that he won't get another chance to confess, he won't get another chance to apologize, and all of this is because of his incompetence. This makes Gu cry even harder as he tells him that he's always working hard and just doesn't know how to express it. Following this, the imposter questions him about what he wants to do after this, to which Gu replies by saying that he wants to protect them, and for this reason he wants a miracle to happen. With this, the imposter grows pitch black wings and starts flying, asking Gu to accept him, and that it's about time they take everything back. After Gu joins hands with him, he snaps back to reality where the soldiers are discussing about finishing him off as well. Suddenly, a mysterious wave appears from Gu, which shatters the windows of the church. The soldiers immediately realize that something is off and decide to kill him by activating their abilities. As the abilities are about to strike Gu, his eye color changes to black and he stops the bullet and fire shot with his bare hands. He then ambushes the soldier and defeats him effortlessly by grabbing his face and smashing him into the ground. The leader, on the other hand, attempts to shoot him, but the bullets stop midway as Gu diverts his attention toward him. He then activates a mysterious technique, Dark Inflammatory Souls, and with this, dark shadows surround the leader as Gu approaches him and grabs him by his neck. However, he is Shoseki to witness that the leader is none other than Long Yuxi. Taking advantage of the slight pause, Long Yuxi puts Gu to sleep using her ability and reports to the academy that the exam has ended, requesting immediate clearance. Meanwhile, at the Energy Hunting Academy surveillance hall, Teacher Qin and the others were observing all this until all the pinhole cameras were destroyed suddenly. Teacher Qin orders to send someone to investigate the matter, commenting that the students this year are pretty excellent and they can't afford to lose them. Amidst all this, another teacher reports to him that the exam has ended and all the third-year students who are playing the killer are injured. This showcased Teacher Qin as he wasn't expecting Long Yuxi to get injured as well. After the students were brought to the academy, they were briefed about everything. Following all this, Gu and the others were having lunch at the academy canteen with Zhang eating like there was no tomorrow. When Xia asks him about this, he tells her that they might not live to see the next day, so they have to enjoy life. She then inquires Gu about his death, to which he replies by stating that he can only remember Long Yuxi's face. This shocks Xinghe, because apparently Long Yuxi had used illusory magic on everyone, but Gu was still able to see her real face. As they are wondering about this, she remembers that Xiaodu was also able to see Long Yuxi's face when she complimented her in the beginning, and is amazed to realize that Xiaodu is immune to Long Yuxi's illusory magic. She then asks her if she could see the bloodshed scene, to which Xiaodu replies by telling them that she could witness all of them getting shot, but there was no blood. As they are conversing, there is an announcement regarding a couple that went missing during the Erhai Lake tourism. Hearing this, Zhang comments that the missing couple were also teachers of the academy, which shocks Xia, as teachers are all high-level hunters, and killing them can't be that easy. Zhang further tells them that they were attacked by death disciples. Following this, all the freshman students are asked to gather in the broadcast hall after completing their meals. Upon reaching the hall, a teacher introduces herself as Suhee and welcomes them to the academy. She then informs them that the students will be split into 4 classes based on their abilities A, B, C, and D. She further tells them that there is an exclusive S class as well for students like Long Yuxi, and these students are chosen directly by the council. The teacher then asks them some questions related to the energy hunting theory, energy intake, and energy release, with the students answering her confidently. After hearing their answers, Teacher Su proceeds to explain these things in more detail. She starts off the discussion by explaining Xia's hunting ability, which is known as Dark Current. She explains that due to physique differences and natural talent, each energy hunter's energy release is different. The energy hunting world is divided into 7 categories, including Dark Current, Gold Blaze, and others. Hunters like Xia that are known as Dark Current are good at controlling elements, and one of the examiners that fought them also falls under this category. After explaining Dark Current, she tells them about hunters that fall under the category of Gold Blaze, commenting that these hunters are always angry. Hearing this makes Sheng angry, as he also falls under this category. She further explains that these hunters can alter the atomic structure of their bodies and demonstrate explosive power. In order to explain them properly, she compares the Dark Current hunters with Scarlet Witch and the Gold Blaze ones with Hulk. Zhang feels jealous by all this and asked about his hunting category, but Teacher Su asks him to be patient as they will discuss things in order. She then tells them about the dark green energy hunters who specialize in healing and reincarnation, giving the example of a hunter they encountered during the exam. Hearing this, Hu thinks to himself that if these hunters can heal people, can they also heal Liu Yang? But Teacher Su immediately answers his question by explaining that these hunters can only heal minor injuries and cannot bring back the dead. She further states that the examiner they fought with dark green energy also possesses another type of energy hunting known as Blue Jade. This shocks Gu as he curiously asks her if people can possess 2 abilities at once. Teacher Su tells him that there are hunters who even possess 3 abilities at a time, but they are really rare. Furthermore, she reveals that her hunting ability is also Blue Jade, stating that these types of hunters are not effective when it comes to battles, but they are able to detect a certain range of energy flow which is used for investigations. They can also enhance the hunting energy of their teammates or weaken the hunting energy of their enemies to some extent. She then questions them regarding Long Yuxi's hunting energy, who answers her questions by saying that she possesses the Purple Mirage hunting energy. Teacher Su appreciates him and tells them that the Purple Mirage hunting energy users can utilize their eyes to engage in spirit invasion and attack. The primary Purple Mirage users can affect your consciousness to a certain extent and limit your abilities. Intermediate Purple Mirage can create a certain degree of hallucinations. Meanwhile, the advanced users can even invade your brain and control you completely. Hearing all this, Xia comments that this is the reason they mistook Long Yuxi as a handsome man except for Xiaotu. Now it is finally time to talk about Zhang hunting energy. He belongs to the White Moon hunting energy, and according to Teacher Su, White Moon is the most profound hunting energy. Furthermore, primary White Moon energy hunters can manipulate time and gravity according to their will. When Zhang asks her about the advanced stage, she tells him that there hasn't been any case of this, but theoretically, advanced White Moon hunters should be able to travel back and forth in time. Hearing this, Zhang asks everyone to address him as Diorbiamon, making everyone laugh. With this, Teacher Su concludes the session, stating that they have discussed all the energy hunting types, but Zhang interferes and reminds her that she has forgotten to explain Black Gloom. Teacher Su gives him a cold look and explains that Black Gloom is supposed to be a combination of all 6 hunting energies, but there is not a single individual possessing this type of hunting energy, so this is just a theory. She further states that possessing even 3 hunting energies is rare. For someone to possess all 6 is impossible and is a feat only gods can achieve. She adds to her explanation, commenting that the other possibility could be demons. With this, Teacher Su finally concludes the session and tells everyone to enjoy their dinner and enjoy their time at the Energy Hunting Academy. After having dinner, the students went back to their dorms to rest up. As Zhang is fast asleep, Hu opens a package with a brand new iPhone in it. He immediately realizes that his third uncle must have bought it for him. There is also a letter inside his uncle had written for him. In his letter, his uncle asserts that he hasn't bought him anything expensive all these years, and now that he is studying in a prestigious school, he wants him to look good so that people don't look down upon them. He then apologizes to him on his aunt's behalf, explaining that she is a bad temper and is a sharp-tongued person. But all of this is because of his own inability to provide her with the things she deserves. Furthermore, he tells him that out of all his uncles, his grandmother cared for him the most, even though he was not the brightest. But you are different, as you have a bright future ahead of you, and if you study hard, your grandmother will be pleased in heaven. This makes Gu tear up as he remembers that his uncle hasn't bought anything for himself in many years. Following this, Gu hears a noise outside the window and notices a paper strip. In the strip, someone had asked him to come to the greenhouse as they know about the person he is looking for. Seeing this, Gu immediately rushes to the greenhouse where he finds a guy who introduces himself as Xinghe from Class S. After Gu reluctantly shakes hands with him, Zhang asks him to calm down as he just wants to meet the person for whom Long Yuxi borrowed his sports car. This worries Gu as he was the reason Cheng demolished the car, but Zhang reassures him that it is not an issue as he can do anything for Yuxi, and that he cares about the people she cares about. Gu doesn't understand what Zhang is trying to imply and questions him about it. Zhang tells him that he cares about him, and for this reason he did some digging on his background. He then brings out a file that contains the data of the person Gu is looking for, and before handing it over to Gu, he suggests that they discuss the conditions first. Hearing this, Gu tells him that he will do anything to get his hands on this information, which kicks Zhang and acts embarrassed. He then reveals that the condition is that Gu cannot chase after Long Yuxi. Gu tells him that he isn't planning on chasing after Long Yuxi in the first place, but Zhang tells him that she seems really interested in him. Gu, however, reassures him that he won't chase after Long Yuxi no matter what happens. Hearing this, Zhang hands him over the file. Upon witnessing the file, Gu immediately recognizes the person as the one who had died recently in our high lake. Zhang tells him that Yu Chun and Pu Yunhui were newlyweds, and they were also lecturers at this academy. This worries Gu, and he asks Zhang if they are dead, then their situation is hopeless. However, Zhang reassures him that Yu Chun hasn't died and is just missing at this point, with his wife being in coma. As soon as she wakes up, they might be able to locate Yu as well. Hearing this, Gu bids his farewell and leaves. As soon as he falls asleep, he dreams about the same place he had dreamed before when Long Yuxi knocked him out. But this time around, he realizes that he is dreaming and this is not real. The person there tells him that life is short and bitter, so there is no difference between dreaming and waking up. Gu, however, doesn't understand what he's trying to say and asks about it. The guy advises him that he shouldn't pull a long face and should stay happy. He then questions him if he's worried about Liu Yang or the energy hunting exam tomorrow, which shows case Gu, and he asks him how can he tell this. The guy tells him that he has lived long enough that he knows everything. He then advises Gu to be a bit more relaxed and that it is okay to lie sometimes, pushing Gu down the statue, and as soon as he falls, he wakes up in real life only to witness naked Zhang. Half an hour later, after both Zhang and Gu have changed into the uniform, Zhang asks Gu how he is looking, but he is so keen to notice that Gu is looking even more handsome. Following this, both of them proceed to the examination center, but they are really nervous. Upon reaching the site, Zhang tells Gu that if you're placed in Class D, your future is doomed as you can only go to faraway observation stations and spend your entire life achieving nothing. Worried, Gu questions him regarding the fate of the ones without any energy, to which Zhang replies by saying that they are sent back and brainwashed so that they don't reveal anything. He then motivates Gu to be confident as he is a special recruitment student and that he must have some special abilities. As they are conversing, they overhear a fight going on between some girls, including Xia. Zhang suggests that they take a look at what's happening, but Gu refuses. Meanwhile, Xia was protecting Xiaotu as some girls are bullying her because of her looks. She tells them that they have no right to judge someone based on their looks, and Xiaotu will become even more pretty than them if she loses some weight. After some bickering, the teacher arrives and calms them down. After this, all the students proceed to the facility where their hunting energy will be examined. The professor instructs them to place their hands on the machine, and it will automatically rank their hunting energy. Cheng is the first one to be called and places his hand on the machine. Following him, Seva Yu and the other students are also called one by one. Meanwhile, Gu is anxiously waiting for his turn. And that's how the first part of this manhwa ends. Well guys, if you like this video and you want a second part, comment below with the word part 2, also subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and like the video. But most important, leave a comment. Until the next video.